The Rebel Reef Seeds of Hope is the name of this expedition. This is an underwater expedition to explore the audacity of finding hope in the face of climate change, environmental destruction, and the lingering impact of colonization and conquest. In Tela, Honduras, this team would investigate the following questions. Who does this thriving reef belong to? What's behind its rebellious success? Who gets to tell its story? And should we dare to hope? The expedition would be led by Christian Carias, who is joined tonight by expedition teammates Dr. Joseph Henry, Tiffany Zhuang, and Bryn Rarden. Team Rebel Reef, take it away.
Imagine a coral reef that shouldn't exist. One thriving despite pollution, cloudy waters, and decades of neglect. There are corals as big as a house. I'm not kidding. We call her casita. I can even fit into barrel sponges. That reef exists here in Tela, Honduras, and we want to tell a story. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. And a huge thanks to King Compass for this opportunity of a lifetime. My name is Christian Carias, and it is my honor to talk to you today. The Rebel Reef is a documentary about resilience, joy, and most important, it is about hope. A celebration of nature defying the odds. It offers us inspiration. It also is a documentary about my home, Tela, Honduras. For now, enough of chit-chatting. Bryn, can you show us and show them what we're talking about? Vamos.
I'd be happy to. Hi, everybody. My name is Bryn Rarden. I am the creative director on this incredible team for this incredible project. I'm also one of the underwater filmmakers and the drone pilot, and I've put together the sizzle reel from our previous expedition, and I hope you enjoy.
In Tela, Honduras, the most unlikely story of hope has taken root in the coral reefs. Unlike the rest of the Caribbean, where reefs are dying at alarming rates, this one continues to thrive.
Coral is one of the most amazing species in the world, and we can't lose them. We need to fight for the most important animal in the ocean.
Centuries of runoff, plus unheard of warming oceans, should have caused this reef to die decades ago, yet something is keeping it alive. Local dive master Christian Carias is on a mission to share his passion and spread hope to the world.
Hi, my name is Christian Carias. I am originally from the city of Tegucigalpa. I came to Tela in 1998, and I'm the only dive master here in the city in Tela. I'm really proud of it, and I'm happy to be able to dive in the most spectacular place in the Caribbean.
This is the story of the Rebel Reef. These corals hold many secrets and continue to defy the odds. Their future is uncertain, but one thing is clear. They represent something critically important to nurture: hope.
Never lose hope. There's always a thing that we can do to help the reef, and this is the moment.
Oh my God, every time I see this video, I fall in love more with Tela, with this special place. Tela is a small bay on the north coast of the mainland Honduras. Tela is a beach town where you can find peace. It also has a complex history and a beautiful story to tell. For over a century, Tela has suffered from pollution from banana plantations, agricultural runoff, overfishing, and sewage. These conditions like hot water, poor water quality, and low visibility typically destroy coral reefs. But let me tell you something, it doesn't happen in Tela. Despite all of that, this reef is not just surviving, this reef is thriving. I'm going to go ahead and ask Dr. Joe to tell us more about what's going on scientifically here in Tela. Joe, can you please help me right there?
Absolutely. Thank you, Christian, and good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Henry. By background, I'm a coral reef ecologist, but I get to wear the scientist hat for this project and also do some of the VR/underwater videography for the Rebel Reef film. So I'm sure many of you came here tonight because you're really excited to hear a coral science lecture. So I'm sorry to let you down and say my science chat will be brief. Personally, my research mainly revolves around Florida and the Keys. And it's kind of a very depressing place to study corals. You know, we've lost about 90% of our stony coral cover in the Florida Keys. And it's really sad because I remember hearing stories from folks that back in the 70s, the reefs there used to be so thick, you couldn't even swim out past the break at low tide because the corals would be at the surface. And despite the hundreds of hours I've spent underwater in Florida, I've never seen large thickets of staghorn coral and elkhorn coral before. So when I was told that there was a large thicket of elkhorn coral in Tela, Honduras, I had to go see it. Didn't believe it. And now that I've gone and seen it, I can tell you it's beautiful. And like most scientists, you know, we see something's beautiful, we decide we just want to study it. So that's kind of where we're at now. So myself, along with all the folks you can see in our team here, we've already begun collecting a lot of data on the reefs in Tela, as we hope to really understand why these corals thrive there. You know, we wonder, is it the environment that's really conducive to them? Is it some special trait that the corals have? And, you know, if there is some special trait that these corals have, can it be harnessed to help with greater restoration throughout parts of the Caribbean? And, you know, for this reason, beyond just being a beautiful reef in Honduras, the Rebel Reef is also a source of hope that could still play a role in helping rehabilitate reefs back here in my home in Florida and other parts of the Caribbean. So that's really exciting, if you ask me. Well, anyways, that's enough for the science stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and pass things back over to my expedition boss, Christian, and let him tell you a little bit more about what he's seen diving the rest of the Mesoamerican reef. Go for it, Christian.
Thank you so much, Joe. I did diving my lifestyle. This is the thing that I love the most, believe me. Going in through water and see the reefs, be in peace underwater is one of the things that I love to do every single time I can. Also, I became an instructor of post-hurricane first attention to reefs. This is the attention we give to the reefs after a hurricane passes. And I've been delivering these courses in the countries on the Mesoamerican Reef. I had the opportunity to dive in multiple reefs affected by diseases. This direct exposure has allowed me to understand the severity of the threats our reefs are facing. This is a real thing going on. However, what stands out the most is that in Tela, we still find hope. Here, the corals continue to show signs of life. Whereas in other places on the reef system, they reached the brink of extinction. Now that we mention hope, Tiffany, can you please tell us about hope?
I sure can. Hey, everyone. I am Tiff, and I am the director and producer of this awesome project. I am also a really big feelings person, so it's only fitting that I get to talk about this. So why are we focused on this emotion? For us, hope is the answer, and hope is the antidote. Many conservation stories, especially coral reef stories, highlight loss. They're a record of what was, of what has disappeared under our watch. I know those stories. Like Joe, I've watched the coral in the Florida Keys die off in front of me. This creates feelings of shame, guilt, anger, despair. We're not into that. Instead, we're telling this story of hope, specifically the hope that the Rebel Reef gives us. This is the emotion of our rebellion. There's something special about this place. and about the people like Christian who have dedicated their lives to protecting it. This is a coral story of resilience and joy, and a people story of resilience and joy. And we believe that we need to tell these stories right now so that we all can find inspiration and happiness in these truly weird times. Plus, we love working with each other and telling beautiful stories. Now, Christian's going to tell you about the human element of our project, which makes it different from any other coral documentary. Go ahead, Christian.
Thank you so much, Dave. At the moment, I am the only dive master here in Tela. You know how they call me? They call me the local Aquaman. I kind of like that. It's pretty cool. And you know, this is something that lead my passion. I love taking people to the reef. I love showing them the beauty that is underwater. I like people to interact with the nature. Even though we're going to show you some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, this documentary isn't just another nature documentary. It is actually for the people of Tela, my people. My life mission goes beyond documenting the reef. The real mission is to bring the reef closer to people, to foster local pride, and get people involved in protecting the place we live in. I want to give them hope. You know why? 95% of the people that live in Tela have no idea what's going on underwater. They don't know about this treasure. I want people to know about this and feel proud of it. To get there, we need to transmit this information. You know how? Video and VR are the best way to do it because we can get to show people and bring them virtually. This is how we're going to make the difference. Also, in fact, I've been talking to the Institute of Tourism of Honduras and also the Tela's Tourism Board, and they are ready to partner with us. They are ready to tell the story as well. And also, I've been talking with some students of the universities in Honduras. They are really excited. They want to get involved. This makes things clear that this isn't just a documentary. This is more than that. This is actually a movement. Let me tell you that one of the most exciting aspects of this project is the immersive VR experience. Wherever you are, just imagine, through virtual reality, people from around the world will have the chance to dive into the reef, experience the magic of Tela, even if they cannot visit in person. People will be able to dive, even without putting the gear on itself. VR serves as a powerful tool for education and awareness, and we can do real changes. This can help us with schools, policymakers, and communities to see the value of protecting ecosystems like this. I'm going to have Dr. Joe to tell us a story about the impact of the VR.
All right. Hello again, everyone. So as Christian mentioned, along with the short documentary that we want to put together, we also want to put together this immersive 360 underwater field trip. So we can do more than just show people the Rebel Reef, but we also want to be able to take them there in the most realistic way possible. And so to explain the why for adding the VR experience, I want to tell a short story. Well, hopefully I'll keep it short, time's sake. So about 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Shimoni, Kenya. And the idea was to go there and create an underwater virtual field trip and basically just show the people what's just right off the coast. And I worked there with a group called Revolution. And we spent several days just filming basic underwater 360 shots. And later we put it into a longer film that told the story. But for the sake of being there, we just took these short videos and we just threw them on some headsets. And then we invited as many people from the local community as we could to come in and see this footage and see what their response was. And so first up, people start coming in the gate. And the first person is one of the village elders. And this guy was quiet, stern, emotionless face. And then of course, he had to be the first one up. And so I was a little bit nervous because, based on what his impression was probably going to be, it would probably dictate how everybody else was going to respond to it. So when I put the headset on this guy and start playing the video, and he's stoned. And then after a few seconds, he gets this huge smile on his face. And then he just starts laughing, and he just has all this joy. And he wanted to see as much as we could show him. And like, we just ran out of footage, so we ran out to go get more, I guess. But, you know, this wasn't the only example. There was another lady there, I'll never forget. Halfway through the video, she just collapsed. She was just, we thought something bad happened, but she was just so overwhelmed with like joy and excitement over it that she fell over. She was okay, but just to kind of show you the emotional reaction we had to some of this. And I come to find out later that actually all the people that had come that night had actually never seen underwater before. They had spent their whole lives on the like fishing, living on the coast, but never seen coral underwater or live fish underwater. So after that night, like word spread, and we were actually having people show up at the gate, walking miles just to come and see the footage. They wanted to experience it. So that triggered something where I just thought, like, we need to do this more. How can we share this with people? And so for that reason, you know, I really do believe that VR is a really transforming experience for how we can see the world. And even with the basic 360 footage that we can do out there. Bryn, can you do me a favor and play the video of this is just a quick 360 cut, just an example of what the underwater cameras look like when they film. And this is also of Tela. Yeah, so that's me with the camera back there, and Christian holding the 360 camera. And so you can see this is just a really immersive way that somebody who puts on the headset can get there and kind of feel the presence of it all. And so, you know, not everybody can really scuba dive, let alone even travel to the ocean. So in this way, you know, 360 footage using these headsets is really the best way that some people can experience the underwater world. And saying again, you know, if we can't or if we're not able to bring people to the ocean, then hopefully we can bring the water to them. And, you know, my first thought was too, is VR actually going to further the gap between people and nature? And I thought back to just when my parents believed that watching TV as a kid would actually stop me from going outside. But, you know, it was me watching these old Cousteau documentaries that made me fall in love with the ocean in the first place and inspired me to go out and do what I'm doing now. So my hope, and I know it's shared with the group here, is that the work we do can actually inspire people to fall in love with the ocean as we do. Anyways, okay, that's enough for me. Thank you for your time. I will now pivot to another really popular topic that I'm glad I don't have to talk about, and that's logistics. So I will give that to Tiffany. Thank you.
Awesome. So the nitty gritty about how we want to make this thing. First, this is the map of Tela Bay with our favorite dive spots. I want to point out Casita. She's in the middle. That is the big Orbicella faviolata that was in the last video. She makes some cameos throughout this presentation. We're not supposed to have favorite babies, but she's my all-time favorite coral in the whole world. She's just amazing. And she's also the point where we saw a mass mortality event happen this past May. But we told you this reef is thriving, right? It is. It's much stronger than others in the Caribbean, but it's not invincible. We don't know what caused this death. We have some speculations, and it didn't look like a normal coral death. It looked like a death event. But going through this while we were on expedition adds urgency to our cause, right? Scientifically and through storytelling. We need to study this reef in case something else happens. We need to study it now, and we need to tell its story. And so Casita and all these other points you see are contemplated in phase 1 of filming, which is all the filming in Tela. If we are lucky enough to get your votes and your support, we'd bring this to life next summer, spring, summer. Phase 2, which we would apply for other funding sources to complete, would be diving on all these other comparative reefs in the Mesoamerican, the ones that Christian and Joe have dove on and seen what happens when you do lose the coral, what's left, the rubble, right? And so that we could add that comparative urgency to what we make. And then the language, of course, would be in Spanish and English, because we want it to be maximum access for everyone in Honduras, Latin America, and the global community. And we would be filming both our traditional documentary as well as our VR footage at the same time. So there's no additional resources, gas, boat time needed. It would be very, very efficient. Our team also enjoys an advantage of having worked together for nearly 2 years in Tela. If you visit our Instagram, you'll see footage from our previous expeditions, and with your help, we'll be able to do this story justice and tell it on a global scale. If you want more details about budget and timing, they're in our PowerPoint that you can download, or you can reach out to us. And now just a quick recap of the goals that we have set for ourselves. If we are lucky enough to get this prize, we want to make the short documentary film, the 360 immersive dive, and we want to host 2 screening events in Tela to hopefully repeat some of the magic that Joe had in Kenya at Tela Marine, which is the public aquarium in Tela that is free for everyone, and at Sushiwa, which is Christian's sushi restaurant, where he serves invasive lionfish. So awesome spaces, those are our goals. Now, Christian is going to tell us about our team and what motivates us.
Thank you so much, Tiff. I'm really happy to be part of this team. Believe me, we all are sharing the same passion for the ocean. And this is something great that can be done with our mission. My team has decades of experience in coral work and storytelling. You can read about it in our deck. And a nice thing is that we all have different reasons for wanting to tell a story. For example, Joe, he's doing this for his daughter. And if he's doing this for his daughter, it means he's doing this for the rest of the kids of the world, so they can be able to see living corals. Bryn wants people to experience the beauty of coral. Tiff, wow, she loves the joy of adventuring. But we will highlight, this is a story, this is Honduras' story. This is Tela's story. Our reason is, listen to this, orgullo. It's a word in Spanish that means pride. Also, esperanza, which means hope. I am doing this to connect our community to the reef. Make them open their eyes and see that this is not just a tourist attraction. It is more than that. This is our treasure. So we can all feel pride and responsibility for its protection. I would like to tell you all that this is a dream come true. This is more than just a documentary and a VR experience. As I said before, it is a movement, a rebellion for hope. Siempre y cuando hayan historias como el arrecife rebelde, hay razones para creer en el poder de la naturaleza y la comunidad. What I just said is, as long as there are stories like the Rebel Reef, there will be reasons to believe in the power of nature and community. Together, we can turn tide for our oceans and ensure that hope continues to flourish. I invite you all to join our rebellion. I want to thank you again here in Compass for letting us be part of this dream. Believe me, this is something that is really happening. We are losing corals. Coral reefs are dying. This is not only a documentary of someone who discovered a thing or that wants to run a marathon. This is about the most important animal in the ocean. It's the 1% of all the ocean that is dying. And we need to take care of that 1%. And this is the moment. With your vote and with your help, we will be able to spread the word and share the hope of Tela. And we can do big things with your hands that will be able to help us to make this dream come true. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Team Rebel Reef. We're going to open it up for just about 5 minutes of questions. I already see some of you from the audience are dropping questions in the chat, so Savani and I will moderate that. This is your time to ask them. I'm going to kick it off. This might be a question for Dr. Joe, who sort of lamented the fact that there wasn't enough time to really get into the science. You know, at Hidden Compass, we love to dare to hope. But we also try to consider the long-term perspectives of our stories. During this presentation, we saw that Tela has survived decades of runoff and pollution. But is it too soon to declare that this reef is thriving in the face of climate change? We're seeing devastating changes to climate patterns, but these are escalating and extreme disasters are becoming more and more common. Do we have enough perspective to frame an expedition like yours around hope when it comes to climate change?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's probably something I would really want to clarify, especially with the time I had to talk, is that, I would not say that this reef is invincible. Like with how bad climate change is getting and the trends we're seeing, there's like some really radical changes that are going to have to be made if we're actually going to have coral reefs in the future. And so when I heard about this project down here when I heard about the project in Tela, it was like, yeah, but it's only a matter of time. But with that mindset, I also have to stop myself and ask, like, okay, but is there something that could be here? And could we find something? Could there actually be some hope? Is there some science? And we actually have had groups that have collected corals and some of the base studies and run some analysis on some of them, and found that there is something actually special about them within their holobiont, within the coral themselves. They actually have a really resistant form of algae for the heat. So it's like, okay, there actually is something here. And especially when we put this place in the framework of the bigger issues in the Caribbean, something I personally think we need to start focusing on is, like, what can we conserve as much as we can? So part of that story being some of the continued work we're doing to build out land-based facilities to actually start collecting these corals, growing them out, and then how do we start to introduce these corals into probably like breeding programs, I guess you could say, to start creating new genetics. So one of the big losses, so it's like, yeah, I don't think it's invincible. It has shown that some areas are doing better than others, but I think there's value in really trying to understand what they are and then protect what we can and then introduce those into the big science world we have going on. But and then, yeah, so within that, there is absolutely this story of hope, because you could get really depressed about everything that's going on, or we could turn that and say, okay, what can we do with this too? Like, how can we, what can this reef help us with? There could be something there. So that adventure, that excitement to explore that is really what it gets me excited to be involved. And I want to share that as part of the story here, is that, there is a lot of despair for what we're seeing going on, but as a scientist, there could be something there. So there's still this sense of adventure and learning, and that can be also shared. And so I'll say it the last thing real quick, because then there's other questions, is, when I got into doing marine science, I kind of had this feeling that there was nothing more to learn. Like, everybody had figured everything out. So, like, why do we need to do more science? But it couldn't be further from the truth. We still have so much to learn, and there's so little we know about corals. So Tela's a great place to go start exploring what's going on there and the scientific implications for the Caribbean and Florida. Yeah. Sorry.
Thanks for that reply.
You're talking science. I told him to take it away. So
yeah, I was going to say thank you for the reply, and thank you for standing up for hope as well.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to jump in with one of our first audience questions, which is, you already have footage down there. It seems like there's some interviews that have been done. What is the scope of what you've already accomplished on this reef? The question specifically asked, have you already done a film on this reef, or will this be the first? And what's the scope of what you've already accomplished there?
Yep, I can answer that. That footage, most of that footage was captured by the very talented Bryn. I begged her to come with us on scientific expedition before we even had the idea for this documentary, because I believe in documenting cool stuff. And so I was just like, please, for the love of everything, if I pay for your plane ticket, can you come and be talented in Tela? So that's why we have cool footage. We don't have a film yet. If it looks professional, it's because Bryn's professional. This would be the first documentary. And then when we left Joe down in Tela with Christian, and they had their boy date diving in 360, Christian told Joe, it's my life dream to tell this story. And he was so passionate that Joe was moved to tell me, who was already back in the US, that we've got to help Christian accomplish this.
Thank you, Tim. I'll jump in with another audience question, which is, what is the approximate size of the reef?
I believe the bay is 5 kilometers. Christian, can
It's
you?
5 kilometers.
Yeah.
Basically.
I'm bad at doing the American conversions.
That works.
Fair enough.
5 kilometers is fine.
Yeah, I mean, we have like the main reef, which is called Capito, and that is like from one, you know, just imagine like Tela is like a U, so we have 2 points at the end, and then main reef is like kind of in the middle. But then we have reefs that are bordering the national park as well, like the Acropora Palmata, which is the one that's resisting a lot. And then we have some others close to the shore, like close to most to the, let's say that like south side. So there's like lots of reefs in this small bay.
Excellent. Got lots of audience questions coming in.
I'm looking at them.
Yeah.
There's some good ones.
There's some really
Get these
good
on the
ones.
side.
Yep. There is a question in here about what the prize will fund. So will the prize fund the entire project? You mentioned some of this in your pitch already, that you will be seeking other funding sources for other aspects of the project. Has any of that funding been secured or identified? No.
Not down pat, but like Christian was saying, he's been talking to, it seems like the whole country, and everyone is really, really stoked. I think they want this win, you know, and we'd love to be able to facilitate that.
Great. I'll jump in with another audience question here from someone who is quite young. They say they just turned 16. In the future, they want to be a marine biologist. That's great to read. And the question is, you know, besides showing the impact of corals and to, you know, show them to the communities, you know, what else could make a huge impact on those who want to get involved, and especially those who are young?
Aside from showing the corals, I mean, I think it's really the connection, right? Like you can see it, but I think like Joe was describing with the VR and Kenya, like when you see someone fall over in joy because they saw something pretty they didn't know was in their backyard, like that changes you know? And I think if we can showcase that with their moms and their neighbors and people they know, that will change them.
And I'd like to add to this as well. I think for me as a filmmaker, and I think for a lot of us as different types of storytellers, we have gotten to experience the ocean in ways most people never will. And we recognize the privilege in that and the incredible joy that that has brought us. And so we want to create something that our connection and Christian's connection and the community's connection makes other people want to go out and seek their own nature experiences with the earth, because personally I think that's how we help create stewards that want to protect it. I'll also say, as a young person, I say this to everyone because I have a really weird life story. I took many twists and turns along my way. Be curious, ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask for help, because there are so many people out there that want to share what they know. And what we want to share here is the incredible community that we're creating and the one that already exists. So we hope you can be a part of it with us.
Yeah, just add a little bit. Sometimes you need to create that curiosity in people. You know, most likely if we were talking about something that they don't see, they can see. I mean, they can see animals in the wild, they can see trees, they can see a lot of stuff. But underwater, it's hard for them to see. It's hard for them to feel, you know, empathy with this type of animals, and bringing them the reef to them, if they could actually bring out that curiosity and see how magnificent this you know, ecosystem is, they could go ahead and put more interest in protecting this. So this is something that is really important for communities to make this, you know, contact with the nature as well.
I'm seeing other questions come in and you know, we could sit here all night and discuss this, but we do have to get on to the second team. I see questions coming in asking about, you know, why Tela's reef is different, why this particular species hasn't died. These are all questions that, you know, are tied into this expedition. There is a full proposal on the website that all of you who are watching can go and explore. And, you know, if this expedition does get funded, then maybe some of these bigger questions will come through in the storytelling and the documentary and the behind the scenes. So thank you all for asking questions. Thank you, Team Rebel Reef, for your fantastic presentation. And now we will be pivoting to the second Pathfinder Prize finalist team.